Thank you for listening. This is Entertain You, a radio program brought to you by Radio Ear Network, Society Bites Network, and the Sarasota County Film and Entertainment Office. And I'm your friendly neighborhood film commissioner, Jeannie Corcoran. Thank you for being with us. My job and privilege and pleasure and delight is to bring you interesting people from all walks of entertainment, arts, culture, and also movers and shakers and people of influence who change the quality of the lives we live for the better. And I have one of those with me right now, and that is Sarasota's police chief, and her name is Bernadette DiPino. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here, Chief.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
Well, you have such a busy schedule. I know that it was hard for you to squeeze us in, and I appreciate the very fact that you would give us some of your time and talent and insight and input. And I'm just dying to learn more about you and what brought you to Sarasota.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So how did you end up down here?
Well, I was a police officer in Maryland, and I actually started my career in Baltimore County, and then I moved to Ocean City, Maryland, where I spent 25 years of my career, worked my way through the ranks, and eventually became the chief of police there the last 10 years of my career in Ocean City, and it was time for me to retire. And
you're much too young to retire.
Thank you for saying that. Only my hairstylist knows my true hair color, but I knew I wanted to retire someplace warm because I love the warm weather, and I actually had owned property here in Florida for a number of years, and I was familiar with Southwest Florida. So as I was looking at what my next adventure was going to be, I came upon the job opening in Sarasota, Florida, and I'd visited a couple of times. I'd been to the Ringling Museum. I was in Siesta Key, and I loved the area, so I was a little familiar with it. And I was very fortunate. I applied for the position, and I was selected to be the police chief here a little over almost 7 years ago.
Wow. And you're our very first woman police chief.
Yes, I was the first in Ocean City also, and the first here. It's quite an honor, and really proud to represent women in our occupation, especially because I have a daughter that's in law enforcement too, and it's really good to have role models in our career that, you know, you can say, well, I can do that. If she can do that, I can do that.
That's right. It's an inspiration. It's an inspiration to girls of all types and sizes and shapes and ethnicities and identities, and we need more of that.
Yeah, you know, I never thought of that when I was working my way through the ranks. I was on the SWAT team. I was the first woman on our SWAT team, and I eventually became the commander of the team. And I just never thought of it that I was a woman doing that. I just thought, this is something I'm interested in. It's something I love and I'm passionate about. And I was fortunate that I had the opportunity to do those things. And then somebody said to me, they brought their little daughter over to talk to me and said, you're an inspiration. And I never looked at myself that way. And I feel honored when people say that. And
it's a heavy responsibility, too.
It is. And I know that I was one of the reasons why my daughter became a police officer. And it's really cool having a family that comes from law enforcement, because we are like the true blue bloods, you know, sitting around the table bragging about who's the best shot, who did more, you know, and it's kind of funny sitting at our table. But it's also a great opportunity for our family to talk about things and be able to share what's going on in our life, because you see a lot of bad, but actually you see a lot more good than you see bad in this occupation.
Right. Well, you know, the national statistics, I think I read somewhere one time that if someone hears something negative, they repeat it 11 times. If someone hears something positive, they repeat it 3 times.
Wow.
Isn't that
sad?
a shame?
That is sad. It really is sad that happens, because I can tell you from my occupation, a lot of people say, wow, you must see a lot of bad things. And I will tell you, I've seen some bad things in my career. All police officers do. There is bad there. But I've seen so much more good than there ever is bad. And that leaves me with such hope about our future, about the quality of people that live in our country and our society, and especially here in Sarasota. People are good, and very few are those bad ones that you hear about in stories or watch on television. But unfortunately, that's what people watch, and they see this one bad person, and they think everybody is like that, or they really generalize things. But I can assure you, I've seen so much more good than bad.
Right, and I think the media has to step up always and take some responsibility for showing some good things. What's the old adage about if it bleeds, it leads in news?
It's true. And but the media only has a limited amount of time, and they want to get information out. They want to attract people to watch them or listen to them, and it's unfortunate because I grew up in the generation where I was a Brady Bunch watcher.
Right.
I watched the positive things. I Love Lucy. You had a sitcom. You laughed. There was a little bit of trouble, and then at the end there was a positive resolution. And now we're living in kind of different times where everything is so negative. You really have to almost turn off the TV for a while just to decompress and not realize that there are really good things happening. And that's actually one of the reasons why we started some of the programs we did in Sarasota and also in Ocean City, where I came from. And it was because I could never get any of the positive news about our officers into the newspaper.
Right.
I would constantly be showing this positive thing and another positive thing that our officers was doing. And finally, a mentor of mine said, "Why don't you start your own newspaper?" I said, "Start my own newspaper? How do I said, I don't have time for that." He says, "Well, you actually have the internet." And back then it was email. So we started emailing out positive stories to all of the citizens in our community who would share their email addresses with us. And it's now led up to now we have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and we still use the emails, and we send out information via social media and YouTube also.
And I'm on your Twitter feed. I get it
you.
every day, and I spread it around, and I pass it to my family and friends that don't live here and say, look what you're missing. What a great place.
It is, and we can show positive things. We can also show some of the bad things that are happening because we want people to understand it's important to, I'm going to have a commercial now, lock your car doors, please. Lock it up, Sarasota. It's important to lock your things up so you prevent yourself from becoming a victim of crime. But that was our way of sharing information with citizens in our community. And we're on every type of social media that you can imagine. So please find us, even Instagram. We're on that also.
Right. And it is good advice. There is a world out there that you don't want to make any more hazards for yourself than you've already got normally.
Well, that's true. And one of the cool things about crime prevention is that it actually empowers you as an individual to feel like you can do something to prevent yourself from becoming a victim of a crime. And that actually makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you actually can do something positive in the world as opposed to just feeling victimized. Like
and
there's
helpless.
nothing I can do. Exactly. Right. So, do things like turn your lights on outside, lock your car doors, lock the cars, the windows and doors at your house. Make sure that you have your valuables hidden, put them in the trunk. Don't leave them sitting on the front seat of your car, because then if your car door isn't locked, it's unlocked, they can come in and just open it. But they also can smash your window and grab it if it's just sitting on the seat. And people leave the strangest things in their cars unlocked, everything up to and including a gun. I mean, we have people's guns are stolen out of cars all the time.
Wow.
And so I would just encourage people, lock it up, pay attention to your surroundings, all the just kind of common sense things that I think our mothers taught us as we were growing up. Just pay attention to your surroundings. Don't go off with strangers. Watch, where you are, and look out for your friends.
Stay in a group.
Stay with your buddies, exactly. And this is kind of funny. I think men will recognize this. They always, why are women going to the restroom in pairs or in threes? And it really is that, numbers are safer. If you have more people there, you can be more safe. Plus, we're probably talking about them. So
that's right. We want to compare notes.
That's right.
Oh, did you see what he said? Did you see the way he looked at it? Can I use your lipstick, really? Although I don't think people do that much anymore. But
no, probably not.
Back in the days when I was back in high school especially, everybody, I can remember all the girls passing the lipstick up and down the line in the restroom when we're at dance.
Nobody would do that now. No. They would have to sanitize it, and it's everybody's so worried about
sign
germs.
This release here.
That's right.
That you voluntarily chose it.
Yeah.
One of the ways that our paths cross is you have a lot of experience from Baltimore in particular. We talked about one time dealing with film and television crews on the streets. Now we're not doing too much of that in Sarasota, but we're doing as much as we can, and we're hoping to do lots more. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It's exciting to see the perspective of when film crews come in. First of all, they spend a lot of money, they eat a whole lot, so the restaurants are full, and they're usually really good people.
Lots of hotel rooms
filled, and lots of good people and interesting stories. And I've worked on some movies and actually was like security for them, and it was just interesting how much they ate. I can't believe that the movie stars are not so overweight because they are constantly eating. It started in the morning where you got breakfast, anything you wanted, and then they brought out a
craft
snack,
services.
exactly, and then they brought out donuts and croissants, and then they brought out other snacks, and then it was lunch, and then it went all the way through till almost midnight. They were constantly had food, and that was to keep all the staff happy, and they were very very, very happy with their work. And it was just interesting, especially the number of takes that they have to film.
Right.
I just couldn't believe, I actually saw Runaway Bride being filmed, and Richard Gere was doing the scene where his hair was being dyed, and they did the scene where he was walking up the street kind of shaking his head, and I was like, oh, that was perfect. And they're like, cut, do it again. I don't know how many times he did it. I'm like, wow, you really have to have a lot of patience to do that over and over again, when I thought it was perfect, but the director wanted different angles. So it was really
the light wasn't quite right coming through the layers of his hair.
Yeah, exactly. But it's exciting because I'm hearing that more and more people from Hollywood are looking at the Sarasota area to come and do films here. And what a great backdrop. Sarasota is gorgeous. You've got the beach, you have the culture, you have the bay front, and everything that goes in between from our beautiful downtown and
sugar sand beaches and
just
museums
beautiful.
And galleries and polo and cricket and yachting. Oh my.
Exactly. It's everything. You have everything here. And I always tell people, if you can't find something to do in Sarasota, you just didn't step outside, because there is so much going on every single day, every single night. It's I wish there was more time
truly
to do all the activities, and so many open-hearted, charitable people in the community.
I think we have one of the highest per capita rates of philanthropists and foundations, donors, benefactors, sponsor-type people. It's amazing how many tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars go through charity and philanthropy here in Sarasota County. It's remarkable.
It is remarkable, and wonderful people, and they give to so many different organizations. But there is one group of people that I hope that they stop giving money to. I hope that they will give money to help these people, but not to give it directly, and that's to the homeless.
That's right.
If you give money to homeless out on the street, it's said that 92 to 94 cents out of every dollar goes to drugs, alcohol, or prostitution. Mm-hmm. So while you think that you're actually helping individuals, you actually are helping to push them more towards the grave, as opposed to actually getting the resources and help that they need. And there's so many fine organizations in Sarasota that you should be donating your money to, from the Salvation Army to Harvest House to First Step to any organization.
And
that
there's
helps.
Shelters.
So
and
many different.
There's places where they can get a hot meal and they can get a shower and they can get a bed. And sometimes they have to persist and they have to be patient also. But there are a lot of resources out there. There's so much good in this community.
There really is. From
so
mental
many people
health
willing.
to addictions to jobs. There's so many opportunities here to give people help. But if we continue to give money, because, I mean, some of the homeless are like collecting hundreds and hundreds of dollars a day, and they're spending it on drugs and alcohol. And some of it's because they're trying to help with their mental health issues. They're self-medicating, but there's so many resources available, and our officers with our homeless outreach team do an outstanding job of trying to help people get into those resources. But if they continue to get the money from the generous people in our community and our visitors, they're just going to stay out on the streets and not get the help that they truly need.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. I mean, when people have a kind heart and they want to help, they have to understand the difference between helping and enabling.
Yes.
And when you're giving handouts, too often you're enabling really bad habits and really bad practices to continue, and you're better off giving that money to a shelter, to a legitimate organization that will help them get off the streets and help them get healthy and fed and housed and clothed and everything else.
Absolutely. Unfortunately,
I so agree with that.
I've seen a number of homeless people that you start knowing as individuals in the community because you see them so much, and unfortunately they die from various things, whether it's an overdose or exposure or something else, and instead of taking the help that is out there, and there's so many organizations, and our department and city has done such a fine job of trying to help individuals, and we just hope people will continue to help, but give it to the organizations, not the individuals.
Help constructively rather than enablingly.
Yes.
If that's such a word. Enablingly?
Yeah.
Anyway, I have seen some wonderful stuff with your officers and you yourself out in the community, out in some of the less affluent community, the poorer neighborhoods, the schools, the kids that don't have as much as some of the other kids in some of the other schools, making friends, playing sports, bouncing a basketball, giving good advice. I mean, it's just heartwarming, and I just commend you and all of your officers for that.
Oh, thank you. I'm so proud of our officers. They do things on duty and off duty, working for Habitat for Humanity, donating their time to organizations like the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm going to give a shout out to